Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Andrei Jura from the Developer Relations team at MultiversX. In this tutorial, I'll guide you through installing and using the Cursor Model Context Protocol for MultiversX. Cursor MCP enhances development by providing a seamless way to interact with the MultiversX ecosystem. Follow along to get it set up and start using it efficiently. Before getting started, you will need to have Git installed, Node.js, and as well as Rust and MultiversX SCMeta CLI tool. I already have those installed, so we will not be covering the installation of the tools in this tutorial. Let's go ahead and copy the repo URL and open a new Cursor workspace. I will go ahead and clone the MCP repo one level above my workspace. So right now I'm in the dev folder and I will clone the repo. I will cd into it and I will list its contents. We can see that we have a dist folder here, so let's cd into that and list the contents. We are interested in the index.js file, so let's go ahead and open that file with Cursor. We would like to copy the path of the file and then we will open Cursor settings. We will select MCPs, all right, and we will add a new MCP server. We can give it a name. I will choose MultiversX MCP. The type will be command, and we will use node to run the index.js file. Make sure that you have the absolute path to the file right here. As you can see, you might encounter this problem where the MCP is not starting. That's because, at least in my case, I have to use the absolute path to Node.js as well. So let's try to find that path. You can use which node or where is node, and you can obtain the absolute path to your node binary file. All right, so let's replace node with the absolute path, and right now we have two absolute paths, one after each other. One is the Node.js and the other is the index.js file of our MCP. I will save it, and as we can see, everything is working. We can see that we have different tools like generating smart contracts, building, deploying, help of the SCMeta CLI tool, and so on. And we also have documentation resources. Now that we have our MCP up and running, let's see what we can do with it. I will open a new Cursor chat window. That's Command-Shift-L on Mac. And I will make sure that I have the agent mode selected. Then I will ask the agent how I can build a MultiversX smart contract. As we can see, our MCP tool was called and we can run it. You have to run it to manually approve every time. And we can see that it lists all the options that we have. It also suggests to run SCMeta help just to see how we can use the tool. It also suggesting that we can generate a new smart contract starting from the ping pong EGLD template. I will want to start with a new empty contract, so let's prompt that. Okay, we can check that yes, it uses the empty template. The MCP is using the empty template. We will run the tool, and as we can see, our new contract was generated. Running checks, and it looks like everything is set up correctly. All right, this is cool. So it looks like it already suggested some changes to our empty contract in order to implement a simple counter functionality. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and run with that. So I will accept the changes to our initially empty contract. And automatically it also suggesting that we can build this contract. So let's do that. If we expand the called MCP tool, we can see some output here as well. Once it's finished, of course. Okay, looks like it's generating new folders and the build was successful. And we have our WASM output. Now we can run some tests. I will accept the suggestion of running the tests and let's see what happens. And of course, the test scenarios are not matching because it was an empty contract and we've edited the contract and it's doing all the things for us, updating the tests and run them again. Making some adjustments. I will accept those as well. And run the tests again. Of course, there are errors again, new adjustments. Let's accept those. Great. So it looks like now we have a new contract starting from the empty template. We have edited it using the AI tool, and we have also validated through tests that everything works well. So right now we will be building the contract again. Great. Everything worked well. The next thing we can do is to actually deploy the contract. So let's do that. Let's ask the LLM to deploy our contract on DevNet. All right, that's good. We will accept and run the tool. And it might take a while, so let's wait for it to finish. Awesome. So we have just deployed our first smart contract entirely built by the AI through the MultiversX MCP. We can check that on the DevNet Explorer. Let's go ahead, and as you can see, our contract was deployed 31 seconds ago. Awesome. So this is one thing that you can do with the MCP tool. As you can see, it asks us to view the contract info. So let's do that. Looks like we can interact with the contract. So we can get the counter. Let's see if it runs. Awesome. So what it did here, it's actually calling the view endpoint, the get counter view endpoint of the contract, which it's, let me see here. And of course, the initial value is 0. And it's suggesting a new interaction to increment the contract stored in the contract value that we stored in the storage mapper. And it looks like the counter was incremented. Let's see what happens. We have a transaction hash that we can check, or we can check the transactions list of the contract. So this is the same transaction that we did right now through the LLM. Nice, perfect. And I think it's checking again for the counter value from the contract, and it should be 1. And yes, it is 1. Let's go ahead and accept the next suggested thing to do, which is decrement. This will call the decrement endpoint of the contract, which looks like it worked well. Yeah. And finally, I think it's getting the counter again just to validate that it is 0 again. So we have a really nice summary of what just happened. So basically, we created a contract, we deployed it, we've built it and deployed it, and we've actually interacted with the contract using the MultiversX MCP tool. Now that we have our contract built, let's try to enhance it a little bit. So I will be trying to enhance the increment function, and instead of adding 1, we will be adding, let's say, 100 each time the endpoint is called. So let's do that. All right. So the changes are done, and we will accept those. Of course, it's nice that it suggested to update the test scenarios, which makes sense. Okay, so let's build it. And let's run the tests. All right, everything works perfectly and it's suggesting us to upgrade the smart contract. So let's do that as well. Really nice. It looks like the upgrade went through. Let's check it. So we have a new transaction that upgrades our contract, which is successful. That's very nice. And it's again suggesting some interactions with the contract. So for the sake of it, let's just run those as well. Okay, so the results of the getCounter function, the view function, it's 0 as expected. We will run the increment endpoint again and check if everything is working well, adding 100 each time. The transaction went through successfully, and we will check the counter again, and the result it's 100. That's awesome. We will run again the decrement function that we can check on the Explorer. It went through okay, and yes, it's prompting us to get the counter again, which is 99. Awesome. So now we've went through the scenario of enhancing and upgrading a contract using the LLM. Now, that's not the only thing we can do with the MultiversX MCP. We can also query the powerful MultiversX documentation. So let's say I want to learn more about relay transactions v3. It will use the MCP's documentation resource, which will retrieve information about my query from the MultiversX documentation. Okay, so we have an output and we have everything we need to know about the relayed v3 transactions with examples and everything. And also we have some links to the docs, which is always nice to have. Of course, we can also ask how to start, for example, a frontend dApp. And we need to run the tool again to query our documentation. And we have the answer coming from the API. And it looks like it is suggesting in using the MX template dApp, which is really nice. That's exactly what we have in our docs. So, of course, you can just ask him to do that. So let's do that. Generate the front end. So It has the context of our previous interaction where I asked about how can I start a dApp, and he knows that he needs to clone the MX template um, in our current workspace, and it also installs the dependencies. Okay, now it wants to check our contract in order to see how it can enhance our front-end app probably. It wants to link the two, but I will stop it right here, and maybe um, let's ask him to start the app. All right, awesome. So we now have a working dApp which in which we can log in with any wallet. So this is a nice starting point. You can go wild from here and just maybe ask him to remove everything in the dApp, keep the login, and maybe make a nice interface and link it to the new increment contract. And yeah, uh, that's how you can build a dApp using the MultiversX MCP.